for school, I was asked to talk about something that I was passionate about right now, but this was because I'm gonna try to convince you or persuade you about my point. So to give you a little bit of context on why am I talking about Massachusetts Bay Colony for this pitch, basically yesterday I was watching this documentary about the 13 colonies. Right now I'm living in the United States. I'm originally from Mexico, and I don't have I didn't have much things to do yesterday, and I wanted to inform myself a little bit more about the history of the United States because right now I have history class in school, and like a difference from the other kids, I don't know much stuff about American history. So when I saw this documentary on TV, I decided that it was a good idea that I watch it so I could inform myself a little bit more. And so the documentary started by telling me all about each one of the 13 colonies. And by the time they finished, I was convinced, like actually convinced it was something I was passionate about, that Massachusetts Bay Colony was the best one out of the 13 of them. And well, the basically the two historians that were conducting the documentary didn't agree with me. Apparently, they didn't choose. They started discussing about which one was the best one after they talked about 13 of them, and they didn't agree with me that Massachusetts Bay Colony was the best one. So I was really mad about it, and it was just frustrating because I was yelling at, like, not yelling, but I was like screaming at this at the screen and telling them like if they could listen to me, right? And so today when I started doing this project, I realized that this was a chance for me to show you why I thought that Massachusetts Bay Colony was the best one out of all 13 of them. First of all, here's a map where you can see the location of Massachusetts Bay Colony. You can see that it has a privileged um, location because it's a colony that was like between all of them that was near Europe. It was near Great Britain, and basically this meant that commerce between United States, or well, in this case there's 13 colonies, and Europe could continue. It was easier for the boats to arrive at Massachusetts Bay Colony instead of arriving to other lower states. And it had a main port, and it just was an important point for commerce. So it had a privileged position. I'm going to talk about it more in the next slides, but I wanted to show you in a map where it was located. So let's talk about Plymouth, Massachusetts. It was established in 1620 after Jamestown as the second permanent settlement in English colony in the Americas. It was originally called Commonwealth, and it was founded by the Puritans who were trying to escape from the religious persecution. So you didn't know about it. I'm gonna briefly explain it to you. Basically, the king at the time in Great Britain, he wanted to divorce his wife, and the Catholic Church wouldn't let him get divorced. So, in really briefly, he decided to create his own religion called the Puritans, and so he could divorce his wife and remarry somebody else. So the Puritans became a really important religion in the Great Britain in that time because it was the king's religion, and it was a big deal. I recommend you to read more about it here. It was just like a small and really brief explanation about where they come from. But yeah, so this Plymouth, Massachusetts was founded by Puritans because they were the ones living at the time in Great Britain. Their social structure was pilgrims, separatists from the church, as I mentioned previously, good relationship with Native Americans, which was not common. They wanted to build a community based on their religion in America, and the colony started to have a massive growing in population. But that also meant an increase in schools, crops, infrastructure, town meetings, and use of clean water, which is great. Like it's as I mentioned, this is one of the things that attracted me the most about Massachusetts Bay Colony and is their social structure because it was so advanced. Like if you really think about the 13 colonies and how hard it must been to start from zero again, and then from them to be able to construct this social structure so organized and that they could in a way that there was a lot of room to grow. It's just impressive. I cannot even like explain how impressed I am about it. Their economic structure was primarily based on agriculture. Farming was a really difficult in Massachusetts since the soil was rocky, so they focused in agriculture, manufacturing, and trading. So because of the climate conditions, they couldn't do a lot of farming, but it was compensated economically by trading. As I mentioned previously, Massachusetts had a privileged position for trading because of the ports that they had. Um, in manufacturing and agriculture. They did a lot of shipbuilding also, as I mentioned previously, for the seaports, and a lot of trading. They trade fur, lumber, fish, and farm products. Their political structure. It was a Mayflower Compact, a self-government, religious government, as I mentioned in the first slide. They were presidents. It was free men can vote, men who owned land and paid their taxes, establish political freedom, and establish representative government. It was a theocracy, which is they encouraged religious tolerance and was open to colonists of different beliefs. So basically, something really interesting because at the time it was not that common for a government to accept and tolerate other religions other than the ones that the government or the king or uh whoever ruled had. So it was something really advanced at the time too, and really I call it like really 21st century, which because it's like the fact of accepting other religions. It was just something really impressive for me. Some fun facts about it is that it was the most successful colony and the first New England colony. The first governor was John Winthrop. The Massachusetts Bay Colony settled 10 years after the Pilgrims arrived, the landing place of the Mayflower and the Pilgrims, and the only place where the governor settled in the colony. As I mentioned previously, of course, yeah, like if you think about it, it's not all roses. Of course, they had their bad things, but when I heard about all 13 colonies, in my mind I decided that this one was the best one because of, in my opinion, how advanced they were for the time, how accepting they were, the fact that they mentioned the yeah, like a good relationship with the natives, the fact that just like a community where the government settled in the colony, which was not common there, and their how privileged their position was for them to grow economically and how open they were to grow politically in a right way, like not in a tyranny or like of course, as I mentioned previously, it was not all roses, but it was the best that there was at the time, in my opinion. Um, just how even though they had their bad things, they could rise above them, and in my opinion, became the best colony that was there at the time.